Hello everyone. In today's video, I'd like to talk about how to retarget your animation from a ball joint to a mechanical joint, which also is how to animate your mechanical joint easily. So in here, in these two images, we can see we have a ball joint character and we have a mechanical joint character, which is a Gundam. So normally, if you want to animate this mechanical joint character, robot something like this, it will face a big hassle, which is normally the animation has a ball joint and it has some like skin or morph on the mesh itself. But in the mechanical joint, you need to preserve the mesh itself, which the motion could be more complicated than a ball joint. So in here, you can say the joint on the robot have basically 3 axes to define the rotation. But for the ball joint, they only have the one pivot center to control the bone. So if you simply retarget the ball joint animation to this mechanical joint, it will cause a little bit problem. Even if you separate the channels, it may still end up very weird result. So how do we fix this? That's the problem that we need to solve in this video, and I will briefly talk about my workflow. So you can see I'm basically drawing a simple draw which shows the mechanical joint has 3 directions. And so as our ball joint, because they are both X rotation, Y rotation, Z rotation. So here in this scene, I prepared a mechinal character and animation. This animation is actually the best that I found can be demonstrate this workflow, but the problem is that it has a big mesh clipping. So we need to solve that first. And the tool will be used is called animation layer. Another thing I prepared is this universal joint. It basically can easily achieve any angle, twist, and rotate. So if I move this, I have totally rigged this already and the mechanism is already built. I just use a little bit simple constraint. And here you can say if I move the control bone and it follows the direction. Yeah, like this. And with the bend itself, this joint can also be rotated. So let's say if you select the rotation part and rotate it, you can see here is the result. So basically for this universal joint, it basically achieved 360-degree bend, which basically match every animation, like our elbow or knee, something like that. Okay, so go back to our character. And I have duplicated this universal joint in the first collection just to prepare to replace the ball joint that we have in the character. Let's hide this first and go back to the character and fix the animation. So like I said, the tool will be used is called animation layer, which essentially does is just blend the different animation and give you a mixed result. So let's say if you, on the second layer, you make a rotation value on top of that, and the result will be big, will be added the original rotation value and the rotation value on that custom layer. So here, if you open the add-ons and select the bone, go to the pose mode. And you can see the animation layer can already be opened. So if you go down and click, yeah, I just lost the track. So if you go down and click this animation layer, so you can see if you click the plus button, it will automatically give you 2 layers, which is the basic layer or the base layer is the animation that you have already. And the upper layer is totally empty. So what we need to do is just do a simple animation twist in the up layer and the bake down. That's all we need. So the first thing is, let's make a key which has 0 rotation value on top of that, and go to the certain keyframe where the mesh clipping happened, and you just insert another key and twist the value a little bit. Also, you have to toggle on this display so you can see the result. So you can see when we rotate the armor a little bit up, it already solved the mesh clipping, and the whole animation changes, followed by the angle that we added on top of that. And the last part is just we set 2 keyframe, which is from the value that we added and back to the 0. So you can see the result. The mesh clipping is already fixed. This is very easily achieved if you have some animation problem. Also, if you want to blend some animation together, this is also very useful. And after done that, we just need to merge and bake, which claps all the layers and bake down to the original keyframes. So here we can visualize the animation is already be fixed and there is no mesh clipping, which is perfectly for our demonstration. Okay. Let's duplicate this character. And I previously, for render purpose, I create some cameras and lights. Let's just hide those. And we see our animation is completely identical. So what we need to do next is, let's see how do we replace the ball joint with the mechanical joint that we prepared. So the first thing we need to do is just do a little bit of edit for this mesh. So for the mechinal character, there is 2 mesh. First mesh is just joints, basically every ball joint in this body. So just delete the elbow part and go back. And the second part is the body itself, which is the arm, chest, head, etc., etc. So I want to tweak the mesh and make the gap between upper arm and lower arm a little bit bigger so we can clearly visualize the result that we will have. So this is just simple mesh editing. So basically select the face loop and open the soft selection. And make sure you have toggle on the connected only, which it only affects the faces has connected to your section. This is just like a process that roll up your sleeves. Basically same thing. And in here, I just take a little bit of edge loop to make it more even. And for the lower arm, we just do the same things. But in here, I just delete the several meshes or several faces. And cap this open area. And do a little bit bevel. Yeah. If you have already prepared a character or a robot thing, which already have enough space or which already match the original size. You don't need to do this. This is just pure for demonstration purpose. Okay, after I added mesh, I have the enough space. You see the animation is still identical. I did nothing with the animation itself. So let's toggle on this universal joint. So essentially what we need to do is just go to the pose mode and make a parent between the upper arm bone and lower arm bone to the mechanical control bone. So what do I mean by that? It's just, you see we have a universal bone control the position, rotation, and the size. So all we need to do is just find an easy keyframe so we can easily align this joint to the arm. Okay, so in the pose mode, if you select this armature and select the character armature together, okay, let's do the first thing. We need to perfectly align this, which may prevent some further problem. You don't need to be precise. All you need to just eyeball it. You don't need to 100% make sure every bone or every pivot align perfectly. Because in the end, it's the control bone drives the motion of the joint. So we just need to eyeball this from the orthographic view, from the front view, from the side view. We just make sure that the angle matches. Yeah, that's basically something that we need to do. I think that's it. And go to the pose mode, or not go to the pose mode immediately, but you have to go to the object mode, select the both armature. So with both armatures selected, and go to pose mode and select the joint control bone and parent to the upper arm bone. And also select the bend target control. And parent it. You see, this control the bend direction. And parent it to the wrist. So simple constraint, just do a copy location and select the target armature and select target bone. I just double check the name. The name should be right hand. So in the constraint, let's set the bone to the the first time I set the constraint on the object level, which is wrong. You should set the constraint to the bone. So yeah, go to the bone constraint and go to copy location and select the target bone. Target armature, sorry. And choose right hand. Okay, here we have already parent the mechanical joint to our character. So if you hide the armature itself and visualize the result, which we already have it. Okay. That is the basic approach about how to replace your ball joint with a mechanical joint. But here you can see we have a further problem, which is the universal joint clipped in this angle, but it should prevent this action because it's like it can be rotated 360 degree. So it must have certain degree which makes sense. So all we need to do is just do a little bit of keyframe on the rotation control. But first, let's fix some mesh clipping issue first. So I just go back to the mechinal character and expand the arm a little bit. So yeah, this is a process just for render purpose. Yeah, all I want is just shorter the arm and expand the arm diameter. Here I have faced a problem, which is the edge wouldn't let me to bevel. A little bit hassle, but I just end with just add the edge loop and bevel it again. Yeah, so you can see here, like, I think the mesh itself has some issue. Even I try to merge the vertices, it still wouldn't allow me to bevel it. So all I need to do, or all I did, is just Ctrl Z several times and go back to this and add edge loop and like scale down a little bit and do the bevel. That's it. Yeah, all this is just for render purpose. Sorry about that. Yeah, here you can see we basically fix the mesh clipping. It's just like a small pop-up from the bottom. Yeah, so I just like expand the diameter a little bit. Yeah, for the lower part, I deleted big chunk from the joint itself, and also do the same thing with the diameter. Yeah, tweak a little bit. So you see the result is more proper without like big hassle or big mass mesh clipping. And for the control bone itself, I just keyframe or add several keyframes to the rotation control. So I always start frame 0 and key a 0 rotation on that, and later I can just tweak the value. So here I know, like, if we lift up our lower arm, it should reach certain direction of its rotation value. Yeah, due to the animation interpolation problem. So you can see here, it somehow like rotated more than the degree that we want. So what I did is just forced keyframe one key. Yeah, I just rotated the value and to this direction, which is the logical direction. Yeah, so it just force fix it. And at the end, I will do a big rotation, just show the mechanism on this joint. Yeah, so I add a big value on the y-axis, y rotation, and keyframe it. And I know in the result, I need a loop animation, so I just add the final keyframe. I just key it back to the 0 value. Yeah, that's basically it. So if you check the animation, we already have it. So this can be very useful if you have a robot character, Gundam, etc. And you want to animate it, and you don't want to deal with the lot of like joint mechanism. So all you need to do is just retarget the animation that you need to your body and leave the joint mechanism rest or separately. And literally in the animation, you can just go back and parent the ball joint back to the character. So here I made a several scratch. So the original tutorial is did in Chinese, which in here I essentially just summarize the approach, which is what I explained in before. So this approach is like no matter you have the resource from the BVH, motion capture, FBX file, whatever you can grab. And laterally you can apply to your mechanical character, let's say. Yeah, I think it's a very good solution. But just FYI, this can be used, export to game engine or etc. So because like due to the approach, we have established two separate armature, and it will cause a little bit problem if you want to export to the other DCC2. But let's say if you want to achieve some cool result in Blender, it will totally fine. Just use this approach. So here, let's see the result that we have. So it's pretty cool. You can see. Thank you very much.